And then inhaling, coming back to center. Feel free to take any other stretches or movements that feel good. And then turning back on your cameras, ready for class.
Thank you, Sam. Very nice. Excellent. All right. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome. Hope you're having a good day and everybody's healthy. I'm on the eve of my second vaccination shot tomorrow, so hang on to your hats about that one. And hope everybody is good. We have a guest today, Sarah Rodman Alvarez, representing our charity, and we're going to get to Sarah in just a minute. But as we discussed on Tuesday, I'd like Eric to give a brief introduction and a discussion of our team and what we're all about, so Sarah can hear that and understand what we're doing here in our spring semester here at the University of La Verne in our practicum program. So Eric, if you need the screen, I'm sharing it. So I'm not sharing it, so you can use the computer if you like. If not, please go ahead.
Okay, here we are. Hello, my name is Eric Wilson, and we're Team Will Mill. So Will Mill is a team of University of La Verne Business Administration students dedicated to bring you comfort and convenience while working and dining in your vehicle by providing a reliable steering wheel tray that supports all your needs. Will Mill is a nonprofit and a call to action seeking to help the working class of America. Many Americans, especially those whose professions require driving, most likely eat in their cars. So Will Mill is created to bring that comfort to those Americans. Will Mill also supports anyone who is looking for a more comfort experience in their car in their workspace. So that's us as Will Mill, our charity. Here. Am I explaining that too, or?
Oh, we'll have Sarah do that.
Okay, cool, perfect. Well, that's our company over here.
Erica, why don't you tell us, so where are you located right now? Where are you? And what year are you at the university?
I'm a third year. I'm a junior here at the University of La Verne. I'm coming from Long Beach, California. Graduated from high school.
Great, Eric. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And let's go around the team, and let's everybody. Let's see how we can do this in an orderly fashion. Let's just go ahead and have each team member introduce yourself to Sarah. We'll go in somewhat of an order. We'll go Andrew, then Austin, Mr. Alba, Jasleen, Mace, if you can, Miguel, and so on down the line. We'll just kind of go in that progression. Maybe I'll just give you a little heads up and introduce you. But just turn on your cameras or unmute your microphones, and just please introduce yourself to Sarah. You might want to say what your position with the team is and where you are Zooming from. So Andrew, why don't you start?
Good afternoon and welcome, Sarah. We're really excited to have you here. And we know you're partnered with the charity. And from what we talked to, a lot of people are pretty excited that we're helping restaurant workers around. So currently I am a business admin major. I'm coming from Whittier and I'm a CEO.
Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Andrew. Austin, why don't you go ahead?
Hello, my name is Austin Haynes. I'm the advertising manager for Team Will Mill. I'm a third year business major and I'm Zooming from the University of La Verne campus.
Cool, good job. Dave Alba, please.
Hi, Sarah. I'm David Alba. I'm a junior here at the University of La Verne. I'm a business admin major, and I'm the marketing manager for our team.
Thank you, David. Jasleen, please.
Hi, Sarah. I'm Jaslyn. I'm the corporate marketing manager for Will Mill, and I'm Zooming from Rancho Cucamonga.
All right, good old Cucamonga. Mason.
Hello, my name is Mason Ferrari. I'm Zooming from Chino Hills. I'm a business admin major.
And what's your position with the team, Mason?
COO. My bad.
Chief Operating Officer. He's got all the headaches, Sarah. Miguel, please.
Hello, Sarah. My name is Miguel. I'm a sophomore and I'm the general manager. Oh, and I'm Zooming from Rialto.
Rialto. All right, Rihanna.
Hi, I'm Rihanna. I'm a sophomore business admin major, and I'm currently in San Diego, and I'm our VP of marketing.
Thank you. Mr. Sebastian, please.
Hi, I'm Sebastian. What are we supposed to say?
Say what you do for our team, Sebastian, and where are you calling from?
All right. I'm the information officer, and I'm calling from Miami, Florida.
How's the weather in Miami these days?
It's hot. I'm out here getting dark, man.
All right. Well, good, Sebastian. I'm glad you're here. See, Sarah, we bring them from all over. Tyler Bent, please.
Hi, I'm Tyler. I'm a junior business administration major, and I am the VP of sales, and I'm in Glendora.
All right. And last but certainly not least, Taylor.
Hi, Sarah. I am the CFO, and I'm currently in Sacramento. I'm a business admin major, and this is my second year.
What's the weather like in Sacramento today?
I haven't stepped outside, but from here it looks sunny, probably like 70s.
And why don't you say your name for Sarah, please?
Taylor Thompson.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Good job, everybody. So that's our team, Sarah. And oh, excuse me, I forgot to mention Mr. Howard Hawkins is here too. Howard is our SCORE advisor from the SCORE group that helps us and helps the students in advising about sales and about managing small businesses. Howard, would you like to say hello? And I think his mic is off. And now he just disappeared on me. Well, Howard does, oh no, there he is. Oh, we'll get in touch with Howard in a minute. So that's our team. And you met Sam, and she does, she's our teaching assistant, and she helps us. We're missing one other of our teaching assistants who happens to work on this afternoon. So that's our team. We come from all over the area, all over the country.
Serena.
What's that?
You got Serena.
Serena. Oh, Serena, I forgot that. I'm sorry, Serena, I didn't see you. Serena, go ahead. I'm sorry. Good God, Mr. Hassey.
Sarah, I'm a third-year business admin student. I am the finance and website manager, and I'm calling from Ontario, California.
Serena, I apologize. I deeply apologize. That's awful of Professor Hassey. What a knucklehead. I apologize. So thank you. Thank you very much, Serena. God, what a moron. All right. All right. So that's our team. Thank you, Serena. And Serena is one of our big web operators and directs our website, wheelmeal.com, which is off and running. So that's our team, a group of fine young men and women who are trying to start a business for their very first time in their lives. And so far, so good. We're in our third week of sales, and we're in a very competitive and challenging market because of the pandemic and because naturally we can't go out and do a lot of group or individual sales in the marketplace. We're doing a lot of it through a website that we've developed and started. And so far, so good. We have a long way to go. We have a lot of goals to meet, and we're going to do, and I know everybody's going to do their best to do that. And my job is to kind of just make sure that I remember that everybody's here. I forgot Serena. And my job is to kind of coordinate all this and make sure that we stay on the straight and narrow path and do a good job. And I think we're going to be doing that. This is a great group of individuals, a great group of committed young men and women. And I think the charity that they selected is fitting for the type of commitment they have to the university and to the community. I think it's a wonderful thing. So Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit about your organization and maybe just introduce yourself, so some students might not even know you. So go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited just hearing all of your introductions, and it's nice to see some familiar faces. Sam, that was awesome. Sam also teaches meditation and yoga for the Lewis Center. So for those of you that don't know, I'm Sarah Rodman Alvarez, and I direct the Randall Lewis Center for Wellbeing and Research at University of La Verne. So how many of you have been in the Lewis Center pre-COVID? Okay, I see a couple hands raised. This is just an amazing coincidence, I'll call it kismet, that you all selected Restaurant Workers Community Foundation, because I happen to be at University of La Verne and I happen to be on the board of that foundation. And so when you all reached out, the request came right around to me, and I said, oh my gosh, this is so funny. This is ULV students. So it's great. And I was just so excited, first of all, to hear about your idea, which just seems like a great idea. I loved what Eric, I think it was Eric, was saying just about who you're serving with this idea and kind of who your customer base is. And it makes me, really understand why Restaurant Workers Community Foundation is a great choice. I got involved with RWCF a couple years back because before coming to the university, most of my work was around, my background's public health, but most of my work has been around food and agriculture systems, and specifically issues of racial equity with food and agriculture. And I'm curious how many of you, just another show of hands, have ever worked in a restaurant or worked in the food service industry? Okay, very good. So a lot of you are probably familiar with some of the issues facing restaurant workers. And I'm sure, you've looked up the foundation, so maybe you've read a little bit more, but the foundation really exists to improve the lives of restaurant workers in various ways. So, there are certainly issues of wage problems. So whether that's just being paid way too little, the tipped minimum wage has not gone up for many, many years. Wage theft, especially for individuals working in restaurants who might not have documentation to be in the US, but even folks who do. Sexual harassment is a big issue. Substance abuse is a big issue. Discrimination. And so restaurants in general are this very kind of like alluring environment from the outside, but restaurant workers really struggle on a lot of fronts, and they're just incredibly hardworking individuals. Those of you who have worked in the service industry know, and Restaurant Workers Community Foundation really exists to kind of envision a new future. This foundation existed pre-COVID, of course, but with COVID hitting and people really starting to feel more, for essential workers, and just starting to appreciate that these workers are indeed essential, but also with some of their favorite restaurants closing down and the like, the topic of restaurant workers has just gained way more attention under COVID. So the foundation went from being pretty small to raising many millions of dollars during COVID. It was a huge boom for the organization. And the way that we get out money is a few different ways. We give grants to nonprofits who are kind of working to change the landscape of restaurants. We give direct, under COVID, we've been giving direct relief to restaurant workers, so workers could apply to get a certain amount of money. We give no interest loans to restaurants who are improving things for workers. So they have to show that they are committed to racial justice or mental health or helping with substance abuse issues or gender equity. Restaurants who are basically good actors can get low interest loans of up to $50,000 a piece. And then most recently, we announced that we set up a $100,000 racial justice fund. This fund, I was on the committee to form, and now it's being controlled by restaurant workers themselves, who are all people of color. So the fund exists really to do this kind of work, but that's specific for racial justice in restaurants. So we now have money set aside for any organizations or restaurants who are particularly dedicated to this issue. And that's one that I'm very proud of having been a part of. It's a working board, which means that they don't have a ton of paid staff. That's kind of changing with getting more money, under COVID. They're hiring their first executive director, permanent executive director. But the board is really the body that pushes things forward. The other committee that I sit on is the Public Policy Committee, and we're breaking into subcommittees. So there are subcommittees that think about wage issues. The ones I'm on are about and sexual assault and ending sexual assault in restaurants. And then again, like any racial or indigenous justice issues. But I share that to say that the organization's also thinking about the future and changes that can be made with policy. So it really is working on many levels, thinking about kind of the big picture and what policies we want to support, all the way down to like cash help for restaurant workers themselves, and working at these different levels. And, you know, it's a relatively new foundation. It's been around for a few years, but it's a really excellent one. It's a very diverse board. And I'm just so thrilled that you chose RWCF and that I can be here with you to talk about it today. I don't know, Professor Hasse, if that kind of covered it, or if there's anything else that you want to hear from me, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Sure, we'll open up for questions from our team, but I have a couple questions, Sarah. What do you feel are the greatest challenges to your organization? Is it fundraising, or is it getting your word out? Is it getting the word out, or publicity campaign, or what are the greatest challenges for your organization?
I think the biggest challenge that it's facing now, I'll say two things. One, you know, is going from that sort of small peanuts kind of way of operating to having more resources, but not necessarily having the like paid staff capacity to really, you know, function full time with several people kind of running the show. And that's changing, right? It's just catching up. So that's one, is kind of dealing with the expansion. But the other one is that the fundraising is going to change coming out of COVID. So there was this big crisis mode, and a lot of people will give in a crisis. So you'll get people who give to organizations in moments that are just really acute, that won't necessarily be like a monthly giver. They won't necessarily give in times where that issue isn't so front and center. And so it's definitely going to be an era of figuring out the fundraising strategy outside of a crisis, and kind of looking at more of the larger donors in addition to sustaining those kind of monthly givers, you know, and getting to know who the givers are and giving them constant information. So just a lot of change, you know, catching up with that boom, but then the boom also shifting at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Does any of our team members have any questions for Sarah?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
So you said that this organization has been expanding, and has obviously been impacting so many people, restaurants, and all these different type of workers. Through the expansion, have you found any surprise impacts that you've not intended, positive impacts, I mean?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that. I mean, I think that the organization itself is impactful not only in the giving that it does and the people kind of on the receiving end of money, but on the way that it chooses its board members, it chooses its kind of steering committee members, because it really does, it operates with real intention around being by and for restaurant workers. I'm an exception to that. I mean, I've worked, you know, long time ago in the service industry, but I'm not a restaurant worker. So most of the people involved are in the industry. So I would say, you know, a consequence or a good impact that the organization has is actually through uplifting those voices and being led by those voices, rather than sort of like a typical charity model, which is like, we feel so bad for those other people over there that we're not a part of. It's very much led by people who are in the industry, and it's not out of pity, it's sort of out of empowerment, if that makes sense. So that's one that I didn't expect, is kind of the impact of really being by and for restaurant workers.
Thank you.
By the way, board members are not paid, just FYI.
I got a question.
Go ahead, Sebastian.
So we give you the money, other organizations give you money, you just have an inflow of money, right? How do these workers get the money?
So there was a whole, I don't know that those grants are active right now, but there is a whole process of applications. Now, I know that I was not intimately involved in this, but I know that the foundation worked very hard to make those applications accessible. So in other words, they asked people as little as possible. It was some like employment verification, et cetera. They had ways, like if you couldn't access the internet, let's say, that people could call and fill out those applications or mail them in. So there was real work to make that accessible in the direct grant. And they were very open. We partnered with an organization called Southern Smoke, and they were the ones that have been administering those applications and the funds. Because the foundation is not, as I said, there's not a big full-time staff and there were thousands of applications, we had to partner with an organization that had more capacity to go through those applications to make sure that people got those monies.
Okay. Understandable.
Okay. I have another question. Do you guys, does your organization, Sarah, do any political activism like promoting $15 an hour wage rates for workers? Do you do any of that?
Not yet, but it will.
Okay.
So I think, you know, the Public Policy Committee is on the newer side. And the point of that committee is really to solidify where the organization stands on several issues. Of course, the $15 an hour minimum wage is a huge one. So, you know, the public stances have been more, how would I say this? They've been more moral, ethical position stances. So for instance, when the Racial Justice Fund launched, like, we don't believe in any kind of discrimination, including microaggressions in the restaurant industry, and we have to work to dismantle white supremacy to have a equitable restaurant industry. But it hasn't been as much about like, and this is the policy that we're throwing our weight behind, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
Okay, okay, great. Any other questions, team?
I got one.
Go ahead, Sam.
What's a tipping wage? You said that hasn't changed.
This up. So the tipped minimum wage. So I'm laughing because my dissertation was actually about minimum wage for agriculture workers, and I can talk to you about that, which is fascinating. The tipped minimum wage, the federal tipped minimum wage is $2.13 an hour. Now, let me find. The thing about minimum wage and most labor laws in the United States is that there's a federal floor, meaning there's a federal minimum for what states have to comply with. In this case, it's $2 and change an hour. A state can choose to not go any farther above that. They don't even have to have a law around minimum wage. Many states do go above that. California, in terms of kind of labor policy, and it, you know, we still have a way to go, but tends to be a good actor in this realm. So you have to look at both the federal minimum wage, but also what's the state's policy around that, because it changes state by state. And a lot of that depends on politics, not surprisingly, and kind of who has power in that state. And there's a long history of this. I mean, very briefly, if you don't mind, Professor.
Go ahead.
Okay, so when in the 1930s, when FDR became our president and the country was kind of in shambles, he passed the New Deal, which was a package of very important reforms for our country, especially for labor. Any of you familiar? Yes, no, still awake. Okay, she's like talking about FDR and the New Deal. What is she saying? So when he did that and the country kind of committed itself to, we need a minimum wage, we need overtime, we need basic protections for workers, because otherwise we can just work them to death for free. Does that sound familiar? We did that in slavery, right? So when he was passing these reforms, he really needed Southern Democrats in order to get his policies through Congress. At that time, Southern Democrats, it's not the Democrats you think of now. They were very agriculturally oriented. The Southern states, it's like legacy of slavery stuff. And the Southern Democrats basically said, we will push these policies through, but you have to make exceptions for certain industries. You have to make exceptions for agriculture, for some service industries, and for domestic labor. Well, that might sound familiar to you. Those were main jobs of slaves. They were deep in Jim Crow. They did not want things to change. A lot of the owners of land still were white. So that is baked into our federal labor policy. That has not changed. Still to this day, if you look at our labor policy, it says minimum wage for XYZ, except for farm workers and except for domestic workers. And the tipped minimum wage is embroiled in there too. So you have to, really trace these things back to the root of what they're about. And when we trace those things back, it really, it's a deeply racist history around labor policy. And restaurant workers are part of that, and this is why it's so important to fight for better public policy for the whole food system, including farm workers. And there's, I can say more about that, but good to know the history of these things that extend beyond us and that they still exist in federal law. They haven't changed.
You're so right, Sarah. History can be the best teacher about what has happened in the past because a lot of it continues today.
Yeah.
I have one last question, Sarah. If let's say, we're only going to be done here to the end of the semester, then we're done as a team, as an organization. And naturally, we'd like to have you come to our charity presentation on May 27th. But if I'm a student or if even myself personally, if I want to get involved with your organization, how do I go about doing that? What can I do besides writing you a check? Is there any other things that you have that people can volunteer for or do anything in your organization?
I think that the answer now is probably different than it will be in 6 months. I think during COVID, it's a little bit trickier because there's less capacity to manage volunteers. However, as we move out of the all remote phase and there's sort of more events, there are more get-togethers, that kind of thing, I think the opportunity for volunteering is going to really shift. And there are a lot of us who are in the LA area. And so I suspect that, we will be doing more and more sort of events and the like as time goes on and we can kind of, reemerge in face-to-face life. And so if you are interested, when that becomes more possible, please feel free to just send me an email and I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
I got a question.
Sure.
With the applicants, how often do you disperse? Is it just one time or can they get it over and over? Like how often do you disperse to applicants?
I believe there was a one-time limit.
Okay, and how much is it? Are you aware?
You know what? I'm going to have to look back at this. I think that it was a max of, gosh, I don't want you to quote me on this because I'm getting my numbers a little twisted. I can't remember if it was a max of $1,000. I believe it was max $1,000 just because there were so many applications. Let's see here. You're gonna have to forgive me. I'm looking at, yeah, they don't have it listed anymore. Yeah, but that's my recollection. It was sort of like an emergency amount of money so that restaurant workers in the throes of shutdown could kind of pay their bills and help them survive as a supplement to kind of government relief.
Do you disperse upon approval of application? Or is it just once a month, hey, these 10 people are approved, we're gonna disperse it on the 15th?
No, it was upon approval. There were batches of approval. And again, this was our partner organization, Southern Smoke. So you're gonna have to forgive me because I don't know a lot of the details of how they administered this, but it was one time and they approved in batches. So they would go through those applications, you know, say, yes, this person meets the criteria, and a batch of people would get that disbursement. It's not monthly or anything like that.
Okay, wonderful. Well, if there's nothing else, Sarah, thank you very much for stopping in today. And you're more than welcome to stay on with us as we go through our little administrative affairs. But thank you very much. And we appreciate your commitment to this organization. And we hope to see you maybe at our charity presentation. And I'll send you the details in a few weeks. And thank you very much, Sarah. We appreciate it.
Love to join. So happy to be with you all today. I'm going to go start making dinner for my little one, but great to meet you all. And yes, I would love to be at the presentation.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, excellent. That was well done. Before we get into any other open items, Howard, do you have, you mentioned to me earlier in an email today that you wanted to say a few words to the group about some things, so please go ahead.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Before I was muted, so I apologize to Sarah. This presentation I have given in all of the other semesters to the respective teams about steps in selling. Granted, this is your third week, as I understand it, and it would have been nice to do this a little earlier, but the way that the program and with the spring break, it was just a little awkward. Anyway, these are some key points. If you go online and you try and find sources for selling help, assistance, ideas, this particular step was recommended to me by one of the SCORE members. In SCORE, we have quite a few very excellent marketing managers. And a good example, I'm not sure, I know Professor Haas will remember the ad that appeared for Wendy's hamburgers about the little old lady who kept asking, "Where is the beef?" And the SCORE member was actually the developer of that. He was the designer and creator. And as you know, when that was a very popular ad, and a lot of people have not forgotten that. So with the help of people like him, I've put together this list, and I'll just run down this list. And Andrew, I'll send you a copy so you can refer, and if you want, you can get to other people. And the steps that I'm going to mention are really better when you have face-to-face selling. Obviously, you're not going to have that advantage now, but you have to adjust these, and you can do that to the way you are contacting people over the internet. So here I'll go down the list. First of all, develop your sales pitch. Have a standard sales pitch for everybody. And don't overdo the enthusiasm. Be cool about it. And the old standby was always, you don't want to sound like a used car salesman. Now, of course, we don't have used car salesmen anymore. They're all pre-owned cars. Whether that makes a difference, I'm not sure. But just be cool, make a good, firm presentation about your product. Don't try and pressure the client. Just let them assume that what you're doing is going to be working. Always mention Laverne. Always mention that you are a student working on this program, and that always is a big help. And get in the client's shoes. If they have some specific questions, try and get the perspective that they might have as far as your product. Create value through your questions with your product, with the tray. There's a lot of ideas that you can expand and a lot of uses that product can be used. If somebody says no, and not only no, but hell no, just step back and just don't waste their time and don't waste yours. If it's obvious that they are not interested, thank them very much, and hopefully they will follow some other time. Always try and get a referral. If you make a sale, ask the person who else might be interested in your product. And if you can, get their name, email, or whatever. And that's a good way to expand your base as far as potential clients. And with a sales pitch, again, you want to present that in an enthusiastic manner, but not overly enthusiastic. And if the people challenge you about different things, the price, the product, the color, whatever it might be, try and be attentive to their very remarks, and don't get into an argument with them, but just try and overcome any challenges or questions that they might have. Always take the challenges to value. You've got a very good product at a very attractive price. So if you stress that value, that should help a lot. And always try and get the client involved in a discussion. Ask them, Mr. Smith, how do you feel about the product so far? Are you interested? And the most important thing you have to do is ask for the business. A lot of people forget that. And so at the very end, Mr. Smith, I appreciate the opportunity to have presented our product to you. When can I get your order? So just kind of leave it at that, but just always ask for the business. So again, those are just some key points. And again, I'll send this list to Andrew.
Okay, thank you, Howard. Very informative. Thank you. Appreciate that. Sometimes I forget how difficult it is to sell a product. It's not easy, and to have a format or a set of guidelines to kind of tick off in your head to do that, it sometimes can be very helpful, and it doesn't make the task as scary as sometimes it is. I cannot, that's why I'm not a marketer or a salesperson, because I'm not very good at that, and I get intimidated by that, and it's not easy. So thank you for that. That's very informative. All right, a couple of things. Andrew, if you could just hang on when we're all done today, I want to go over a couple of things with you in regards to disbursements of checks and that sort of thing. My receipts aren't matching up, so I just got to clear that with you because you sent them to me. Is there anything, Andrew, that you have any open items or anything that we need to discuss?
Currently, no, not at the moment.
Okay. Have we had any uptick in scale since the last time we talked on Tuesday?
Yesterday we actually go ahead, Tyler.
I was gonna actually ask that. We did have 2 donations on Tuesday or Wednesday, I think.
Yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. And I was gonna ask if anybody in here's sold yet. Rihanna reached out to me and had sold one. So if anyone else has sold any, you can tell me now. You can text me at some point. Either way.
Yep. This was one of our topics on Tuesday, is make sure we communicate with each other, good, bad, or ugly. As long as we communicate with each other, that's the key. So everybody knows what's going on, and so we can help each other get through this task. So make sure if somebody asks for some information, or if you have some information, make sure you communicate that. And yeah, I know you all have a system of that set up. So just make sure you do that and communicate with each other. That's the most important thing, because then we avoid any problems or something gets passed over. So that's important as well. I've seen in the last 24 hours, you guys have been doing some ads on Instagram and getting that out. I mean, I'm glad you guys are doing that, because glow for it. It seems like they're doing something every 15 friggin' minutes on Instagram. Those guys, good God almighty. But I have seen your ads. They look excellent. I've had some of my, trying to forward that information onto some of my networks so they can see it. So good job in the last 24 or 48 hours on putting out some of those ads. Those are excellent. Good job.
So
yeah.
We have dispersed a lot of trays, and Rihanna actually contacted me today. We have a couple of Instagram accounts, large Instagram accounts that advertise other products. They mainly kind of, I guess, promote and search out for other companies, and they reached out to us recently, so we're in contact with them. They have like over 150,000 followers, and they average out about 1,500 likes per. And so they actually were asking us if we could send them some pictures and permission to use our pictures on their website and on their Instagram feed. So we're in that process right now.
Great. And Serena, just for your information, I know you and I have been discussing this, but I did get that credit from Wix.com. So I appreciate all your work on that, and thank you. And my wife's thanks you on that one, because she was hounding me. What the hell is that? All right. So thank you for that, Serena. Anything report, Jeslyn, about any other corporate sales or anything that we were discussing the other day?
No, there's nothing new. I'm still trying to get in contact with the ones I had. I
Okay.
haven't heard back from one of them, but I think they want it next week, the one I'm trying to contact.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. Anything else? Miguel, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we're done for today. And we'll, Sebastian, hang in there in Miami. I hope everything's well. And Eric, again, thank you, Eric, for putting that little presentation together. We appreciate that. That was very helpful. Miguel, question.
Yeah, one thing. I think we've been getting on our trays like without the plastic. I've managed to like keep the plastic and like put our labels inside.
Oh.
And it looks like much cleaner and like professional, like instead of like just the plastic.
Yeah.
I guess with like the warning label and the sticker inside.
Oh, that looks good.
What I did was I cut like just right here with a knife, and I just took off the other company's stickers, and I just put my stuff inside.
Hey, that's a clever idea. Okay, good job. I like that. Excellent. Okay.
That if you can.
Tyler, any comments on that?
Yes, Miguel, I'm very impressed with that. That was
that's a good idea.
Good way to convert. Make the product a little more professional, and with a thank you note in there. That I think is very effective.
That's great. Tyler, anything?
Yeah, no, that I actually would like to do that with my own trays now. That looks really good compared to
the
other label that was on it.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Miguel. Thanks and if anybody needs any more guidance on that and how to use a knife, Miguel will explain that to you. I hope not in much detail, because that would get us in trouble liability wise. But no, that's a great idea, Miguel. Thank you for sharing that. That's excellent. Okay. Again, we go through the same process next week, go over the reports on Tuesday, and just see how we stand and how we're doing. If anybody needs any help, has any issues, please feel free to let me know or let Sam know. We're here to help you. We're here to reduce the stress levels as much as we possible and to get you through this. So if there's anything we can do, I'm going to be putting out a flyer to the faculty about the team, about all three teams, but I'm going to put you guys at the top of the list, and to all faculty and to all departments at the university to be made aware of what you're doing, what you're selling. And I know Sarah has asked if she could do the same with her little network in the Lewis Center, and that could generate some sales in the next week or so, or a couple weeks. So let's hope for that. So if there's nothing else, you're excused. Have a good class with Professor Hicks, and we'll have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week, everybody. Thanks.